My dad has never asked me or my siblings a single thing in his life. But I know that if I ever needed somebody or anything, my dad would be there without hesitation. The only thing he's ever asked of me is to introduce him today, and I couldn't be more honored to do that. Like you, I wish I was introducing him to say that he's going to be the next senator of Massachusetts, but unfortunately, that's not the case tonight. I also wish I could say I'm surprised, but the reality is no one had more hesitation about my dad running than I did. There's two main reasons for that. One, I'm the furthest thing from a Republican, and two, I was afraid. I was afraid that I would see my dad, a person who's worked tirelessly his whole life and who has sacrificed so much to build the life that he has today, get lied about or have his character attacked. Watching that in this election hurt me more than anything, because if you knew my dad, you'd know that not only is he one of the most hardworking people you'll ever meet, but he's one of the most giving. He takes care of everyone without ever expecting anything in return, and that's what he would have done for the people of Massachusetts. Just ask my mom, his ex-wife of over 15 years, who's been relentlessly campaigning for him these past few months. If that doesn't tell you the type of man my dad is, then I don't know what will. Now, I know my dad can handle anything thrown his way. He knows who he is, and he isn't afraid to be transparent about himself. And I think you know him too. There's a reason why he was chosen as the Republican primary candidate. There's a reason why he has amassed so much support from all over the country. It's because when people hear the name John Deaton, they know two things. One, he will fight for you no matter who you are, and two, you can always expect the truth. Growing up, my dad had one rule for us as kids: do not lie. If you lie, how can we trust each other? The truth always matters, even when you don't agree with it. And although we definitely don't agree on everything, I can assure each and every single person in Massachusetts that there is no one on this planet who I trust more than my dad. My dad would be an amazing senator for Massachusetts. It may be hard to understand or even seem contradictory because my dad doesn't fit into the limited boxes of the two-party system we're confined to. It definitely was for me at first. But he would have put each individual person in Massachusetts above himself and above his party, even when it wasn't convenient. When John Deaton says he's going to do something, he does it. Dad, although I'm disappointed in these results, I can never be disappointed in you. I'm so endlessly proud of you for showing Massachusetts and me a different path. A path led with transparency and integrity, and above all else, deep commitment and love to people first. You are my hero. Everyone, please welcome my dad, John Deaton.
I'm about to lose that tough guy image that I worked so hard for. My daughters are amazing. I just called Senator Warren and congratulated her on her victory. And I said to her, not suggesting it will happen, but as my senator, if there was something that you think I could be helpful in, for example, women's reproductive rights or issues that we agree on, and if we agree on the same path, call me. And I wouldn't hesitate to offer my assistance. Look, I'm disappointed in the results. I'm a competitive guy. I'd like to be much more competitive. But before I discuss this journey, I need to thank a few folks. First, most important, I want to thank Christy. When you run for office, it's your family that actually sacrifices. You know, as a candidate, you sign up for it. You agree to it. It's your family that reads the articles where they try to, make me look like not the best person in the world, or you don't get to spend time with your 5-year-old. And so without Christy, I wouldn't have been able to even try to do this. And she's gonna get really mad at me, but today's her birthday. I want to thank each and every single person who donated, who volunteered, whether it was a parade, door knocking, calls, holding signs, hosting an event, people who simply showed up and gave me an opportunity to earn their support. I want to thank each and every one of you. The giving of their time, energy, money, and effort has been absolutely humbling experience for me and quite inspiring. I want to thank the Deaton Law Firm because because I've been a little distracted since February 20th, and I want to thank you all for being flexible, holding my law practice down while I basically crisscrossed the Commonwealth, meeting some of the greatest citizens, Americans that I've ever met in my life. Thank you to my campaign staff for their efforts. If you saw me on the campaign trail, you likely saw Sam and Claire. I think Sam was mistaken for my son like 50 times, and that's not an exaggeration. Layla considers her friends, Sam and Claire, she says, when am I going to see my friends next? So thank you. If I did 3 events a day for 11 days straight, they did it as well. I'm proud of my campaign and how it was run from this entire time. No lies, no name calling, just trying to focus on policy. Although it was fun to tell the truth and look Senator Warren in the face and say, you know, all of you suck in Congress. You know, it's fun to show people that you can challenge your political opponents on policy and their record without being engaging in this overly divisive attacks that we see in our politics today. We showed people there's a difference between fighting against things and fighting for things, fighting against people and fighting for people. It was an absolute honor and privilege to travel the Commonwealth and meet so many amazing people. They motivated me even more. We stood up for the Massachusetts families who are tired of elected leaders or a system dominated by this hyper-partisanship and divisive rhetoric. I wish the race was more competitive than it was, but you know something, change is hard. I saw a card recently that said, hope has been described as a small rebellion. And so change takes time. You know, winning over an incumbent who has a lot more money than you is hard enough. But when you have a primary and then there's 9 weeks only after that primary for a candidate that doesn't have a lot of name recognition, it can be an uphill battle. I knew that from the beginning. You know, this system we have, it's very incumbent friendly. I was with Bernie Moreno, and I hope Bernie Moreno wins in Ohio and we get rid of Sherrod Brown. And Bernie was shocked when he learned, it was in June, he goes, what do you mean, you still got a primary? I said, yeah, we got a primary in September 3rd. He goes, that gives you like 2 months. And I said, yeah. He goes, I don't know if I would do it. And so, but it's worth doing it because change takes time, but we need change in this state. Listen, I wished I could sit up here and say, I wish I could have raised more money. You know, Senator Warren had 5 times more than me. You know, but the truth is, I raised $2 million, just slightly over $2 million, and I put $1 million of my own money in it. You know, contrary to what Senator Warren said, the average donation for my campaign was $105 by regular people. hardworking people. And so it's a little hard to compete with that, but that's okay. I'm kind of explaining that to you because I don't feel bad for me. I feel bad for my supporters. I know how hard they worked. I know how bad they wanted this race to go different. And I want them to know that I put everything on the field. I never said no. I want you to know that. Never said no. If they said, John, make these calls to people that have never met and ask them for money, that's what I did. If they said, be on the Cape, can you be on the Cape at 9 a.m. and in Pittsfield in the afternoon, I did it. If it was driving 2 hours and 45 minutes to Albany to shoot a two-minute video that maybe 5,000 voters might see, I did it. Never said no. And I say that because when I met you and I see you giving me your time, and I see you holding signs for me, and I see you door knocking for me, and I see how bad you want it, if this day happened and if this race went the way it did, I would be able to say, I put it all on the field. Now, I feel bad for you. For me, nobody in this room should feel bad for me. Listen, I'm blessed, 100% blessed. Many of you know my story. I mean, my mother, who's my hero, once told me that college wasn't for people like me. Think about that. That's what poverty had done for her. I see my brother Toby. Many of you know Toby or know of him if you read my book. He's going to get mad at me for sharing a story that I didn't share in the book. But to tell you what kind of life that you can escape in a great country like ours. It was a hard month in the Deaton household. There was an eviction notice on the front door. There was no heat in the house. The electrics were gone because my mother couldn't afford to pay the bills, and we had no food. 2 days we hadn't eaten. And my brother Toby came to me crying. I was 7 years old, he was 11. I said, why are you crying so mad? And he said, I've never felt so guilty in my life. I said, Toby, what's wrong with you? And he's just bawling. He said, John, I found a Snickers, and I was going to save half of it for you. But I just kept eating it. And he goes, before I knew it, it was gone. And I looked at him, I said, are you serious? You didn't save me half? He goes, no. And he still feels bad about this day. And I asked him, I said, tell me how good it was. And he was like, it's the best Snickers I ever had, brother. So when you come from that kind of life, to run for U.S. Senate against one of the most entrenched Washington elites, one of the most powerful, influential voices in politics in Washington, and you stand on the debate stage and you at least hold your own. That only happens in America. That only happens in America. And if that doesn't make you realize that the American dream is real and that the American dream is alive, if that doesn't make you proud of America, I don't know what will. No fear. Absolutely. And so I've won in life, so don't feel bad for me. No, thank you, and thank everybody here. Listen, I'll wrap up, but we're going to have a new president, hopefully soon, okay? And I personally hope that whoever wins solidly. I personally want the next president to win the popular vote and the electoral college handedly. Because the country at this point can't take much more of this toxic division. And whoever wins as president, we've got to move forward. We've got to move this country forward. We cannot let the career politicians in Washington, D.C. keep us divided. We got to get back to a place where I can look you in the face and say, I don't agree with who you choose for president, but I don't disagree with you. We got to get back to dealing with each other. You know, when I stood on the debate stage, we got politicians indicting half of America, whether they're called deplorables or garbage or trash or whatever. We got to stop with that. Let me just say for the record right now, if you vote for Donald Trump, that does not make you a racist or a xenophobe. If you vote for the Vice President Harris, that does not make you a Marxist. Okay? And so I hope that our leaders, our elected leaders, including the ones in Massachusetts, will take a long look and realize that America's number one enemy is this internal division. And so I'm proud that I rejected the division. And I'm proud that I set an example for my children to say, listen, always tell the truth and always stand on your integrity and always treat people with respect, even if you disagree with them. You know, I got to tell you, I'll tell you just one story to give you an example of this division. I was asked a question, and the question was in an event, John, what do you think about Donald Trump's criminal convictions and the fraud case in New York? And I told the truth. I said it was politically motivated. Hillary Clinton, she did the same thing with the Russian dossier, got a $113,000 fine. Federal government didn't do anything, and the state government, but an attorney general who ran that I'm going to get Donald Trump, pursued him and got the conviction. And people screamed at me, you disgust me, you MAGA, you Trump supporter. Then I go into a Republican town committee 10 minutes later. What do you mean you don't support Donald Trump? You disgust me, right? It's like, come on. You know, sometimes in this election, I felt like the candidate that nobody wants, but the candidate that everybody needs. And so the question that everybody keeps asking is, John, are you going to fade away? Massachusetts is a clinical study in what's wrong when one party rules. Okay, period. And I'm going to do whatever I can to prevent that from continuing. And so God bless you. God bless America. And thank each and every one of you.